Howdy folks, today we're looking at classic X-Men number 44 from 1989 and Marvel Comics. Ultimately, the dead must be laid to rest, and Jean Grey was dead at least for a few years yet. Whatever post-Phoenix direction Claremont and Byrne had worked out was completely abandoned, as the cast and creators were both left reeling from the aftermath of a sudden and unexpected loss. Accordingly, the duo conjure a change of pace, an issue-length flashback recapping the entirety of the X-Men's history to date, albeit as seen through the eyes of Scott Summers. What may have seemed at the time to be a stopgap became instead a kind of capstone, a punctuation mark, an actual ending for so many threads laid across the franchise's first 17 years. And as it happened, this issue's unique gimmick, framing the work of dozens of disparate creators over the course of 2 decades as a unified narrative, would become influential in its own right, ultimately spawning the short-lived Grand Design series. The next chapter of the team's history was waiting in the wings. Kitty Pryde premiered at the outset of the Dark Phoenix saga and was on her way to take Jean's place beginning in the very next issue. The story itself describes her as 13 and a half, cute, bright, spunky. God help us all. John Byrne would still be on the book for another half year, ultimately leaving only after the team's next great epic, Days of Future Past, which we already read on this channel a couple years back. It remains a profound mystery how the two men tolerated one another for as long as they did. And after the funeral wraps, this issue of Classic X-Men offers another sad milestone. After 44 issues, the denouement of the Dark Phoenix saga represents the last issue of Classic to offer a backup story, although it would be difficult to argue they didn't save the best for last. Her first and last is a Rogue flashback, a story of her childhood and the violent awakening of her peculiar superpowers. And Ascentia's writing for the incandescent team of Kieran Dwyer and Hilary Barta, a heartbreaking story of a girl who learns to dissociate from herself as a means of survival. This is hands down one of my favorite ever comic book stories, and a huge part of why Rogue remains my favorite comic book character to this day. Of course, Rogue wouldn't appear in the main reprints for a year and a half from here, and famously, she'd premiere as a villain with 2 stripes instead of just the one.